we just going to cover is data warehousing architecture and what exactly Datastage role in the data warehousing. Okay. Datastage, we know Datastage is a data warehousing tool. So first let us see what exactly a data warehouse is and where exactly a Datastage fits in the data warehouse and what role Datastage plays in the data warehouse. Okay. So before seeing that, let us start with a small example. What's the difference between data and information? Okay. Okay. So tool is Datastage. Okay. What I mentioned here is Datastage. So before we look into what exactly Datastage is and what data warehousing is, let us start with seeing the difference between what is data and what is information and what is the difference between. Okay. Any of the content which we receive, we normally call it as a data, but coming to the information is nothing but only a meaningful data. Okay, data which says something about something. Okay, the data which is meaningful, completely meaningful, which we call it as the information. So what exactly this is the difference between the data and information. Even it is a meaningless data or meaningful data, we call it as a data. It is a data normally, but whereas what is the meaningful data, we call it as information. And now we can define data warehouse as the collection of meaningful data is nothing but collection of information. Okay, collection of information. And what's the purpose? What's the purpose of collecting this information, and why exactly we call it as data warehouse? The main intention behind this collecting of this meaningful data, that is collecting of this information, is for query and analysis purpose. And also for decision making, which supports in decision making. Okay. Means how exactly the data in data warehouse, the information in data warehouse helps us in decision making. Okay. Even we store data in the database and we store data in the data warehouse. Even data warehouse is nothing but a database, right? So how data in database is not helpful for decision making, and how data in data warehouse is helpful for decision making. What exactly difference between a database and data warehouse, and what is the difference between the data we store it in a database and data warehouse? Let us see now. Okay, just for the clear understanding sake, let me quote an example here. Okay, let us suppose you are just booking a ticket. Okay, so you go to location G to book the ticket. Okay, and so immediately once you book the ticket, once you are done with your reservation, we receive a log, say that from location to location and date of travel, so for the total amount and etc. And in this location you book the ticket and so on. Okay, let us suppose we receive such a information. Okay, a record having such a kind of information. Now, and some need to use home from to date of journey, name, age, and location where he booked, and date on which day he done with his reservation. Okay, so these are the, let us suppose these are the information. These are the columns which we receive in our source record, and we are operating into a table. Okay, now if you have a question like, okay, from which location that particular person, let us suppose person XYZ is traveling from which location to which location. Okay, further we can just query on this particular database and we can see, because we have name as well as from and also the to. Okay, from this we can just come to know from which location to which location he is traveling and what is the name and all the profile information as well. Now let us suppose in future, if we want to start a new reservation counter, instead of as of now we have only 2 reservation counters, and now we need to start one more reservation counter. Okay, so further, what are the things we need to think of? Means on what basis we will decide which location we need to start a new reservation counter. Further, what we do is we will just think from which area, means from which locality people are coming. Okay, so here I am just adding, I just want to add one more column. Okay, just of reservation. Okay. Other reservations. Okay, now here location indicates where he exactly resides at. Okay, from which location he is coming, and reservation center indicates at which reservation center he booked the ticket. Now, for example, if you want to start the new reservation counter, what are the things we need to consider? Okay, from which locality most number of people are coming for the reservation. Let us suppose, from locality B, we have maximum number of customers coming to location G to book the tickets. Okay, so what we do, we prefer location B for opening the new reservation counter, right? So how do we get this information? Okay, by performing the aggregate operations like group by location and total count. Okay, if we take such a kind of count, so we will come to know how many people are coming from locality, a particular locality. For example, location A, location B, location C. We just want to take counts. How many people are coming from location A, location B, location C, and so on. Okay, what we'll do, we'll just fire a query on database, and then we will extract the record. Let us suppose here, as it is this particular table, we are loading it on a daily basis, and even we want to see that information on that at least once in a week. Okay, for our just so the information like from this locality we are getting most number of customers. If as this table is loading on daily basis and there are lakhs of customers, this table size will increase day by day. Okay, so it will have millions of records on a particular day. Okay, so now if we find that group by operation or any aggregate operations on this particular database, it is really a time consuming. So for this, what we do is all these aggregate operations we will maintain in separate database, like okay, So what we do, locality name and number of customers and so on. Okay. For example, in future we want to start a new service. Okay. So to which city we need to start the new service. Even the so we can see based upon the tool, means to which location most of the people are preferring to travel. Based on that, we will restore this. So it completely depends upon our requirement how we prepare this particular table. Okay. As of now, I just want to see from which locality most number of customers are coming. Based upon that, I want to start a new reservation counter, and so I'm taking this table which is having locality and number of customers. So all the what we call it as a data warehouse. Means what data warehouse consists of is nothing but a meaningful information. Means all these columns means even most of the aggregate columns we prefer storing it in the data warehouse. This data warehouse is completely just for the sake of decision making. Okay. In future, if you want to check on the analysis part, means it is just a transactional data in this particular table, and here in this table we call it as the analytical data. That is analysis step, the data which is coming out from our analysis. Okay, whereas this is completely a transactional data, means data coming from a transaction. Whenever we do a transaction, we receive a record, we load into this particular table which we call as a transactional data, and this particular system which we call it as a OLTP, and this particular system which we call it as a OLAP. Okay, clear till now? Any questions? Can I continue, or do you have any questions till now? I guess you're clear till this. Okay, then you can continue. So now let us see how data loads into the data warehouse. How we load data into the data warehouse. Okay. So normally in our previous example, we discussed that there are two reservation counters, location G and location Z or something like that. Okay. So from these two reservation counters, whenever there is a booking, we receive a record. Means data coming from the multiple sources. Let us suppose this is the data from location G and this is from location Z or whatever, and so on. So let us suppose there are multiple reservation counters, okay, and the source coming from is even, okay. Let us suppose we are receiving a text file from reservation gate, counter gate, and from reservation counter M or something like they will maintain their Oracle transactional database, and from which we pick the data. Okay, so let us say like it's the Oracle table, and somebody uses the Teradata table of on. Okay, and if here they use some fixed width file or something like, means they use a mainframe system from which they generate a fixed width file, or let us suppose whatever may be. I just want to, what I want to say here is the source from which we get this particular data might be various. Means we will receive data from multiple sources. That may be any kind of source. That may be an Oracle table. That may be a Teradata table. That may be a text file. That may be a fixed width file, or so on. Okay. Now, what we want to do is we just want to extract all this data from this particular table, and we want to load it into a data warehouse. Okay. Before that, what are the things we will do? Here, all this data, as per our example, all this consists of the information about the reservation system. So here, let us say like if there is any any record having the name as a blank field means if the person name is not available, then it means like it is a meaningless record. It is a dirty record, which we say as, because if there is no person information and only from and to location is available, then what we call it as a dirty record. So we need to purge such a kind of records. Okay. For handling such a kind of purging and all, okay, this is staging area. About this staging area is nothing but first we will extract all this data which we receive from the source file into the staging area, and here if you any type of cleansing of records or any type of removing the dirty records and so on, whatever may be, we will do it in the staging area. For example, let's say suppose we have the voting system, okay, and we are getting the files, okay, we are getting in here this data consists of all the list of voters, okay, and in all the list of voters in our locality. And normally in the voting system there is a constraint like only the people having more than 18 years of age are eligible for voting. So in this staging area, normally we will check if there are any records having the age less than 18, okay, any profiles having the age less than 18, and such a kind of records we just want to delete here, because whatever the record we want should be have the age greater than 18, because they are only the people more than 18 years of age are eligible for voting. Okay? So such a kind of transformation, such a kind of cleansing of data, what we call as, will be done here in the staging area. Okay, and once we do with the staging area, then what we will do is we will load this particular data in the ODS. Okay, ODS is nothing but operational data set. Okay, here ODS, in the ODS it is a transactional data, means whatever the data which we receive here we will after just after removing the dirty records and so on, what we will do is we will just load that particular data in our ODS, and once the data is there in the ODS, from ODS we will bring that particular data into data warehouse. Okay, so what are the things we do before we get data from ODS into data warehouse is nothing but, as I mentioned in our previous example, here data warehouse we always concentrate on decision making part, like for the aggregation operations, like for example the sum or group by or any kind of aggregation operations we will just try to do. Okay, here ODS, what ODS does, it means like ODS is nothing but a operational data source where we keep the transaction data. In our previous example, the table which I shown, like from to and all the records, okay, all the transaction data which we receive, okay, we just directly store it into the ODS. After cleaning that in the staging area, we will directly load it into the ODS. Means all the transactional data will be loaded in the ODS, and all the detailed data will be loaded into the data warehouse. Like here we can say data warehouse as the detailed data, and here transactional data. Okay, and source system will be transaction system. See, after staging, there should not be any transaction data. It means like, see, in the staging layer, normally we here whatever the information we receive, that is the transactional information. Okay. Here in the staging, after staging area, the meaningful transactional data will come into the ODS. ODS is purely a transactional data, and whereas the main purpose of this ODS is nothing but here the usage of ODS. Even this varies from project to project. Even some transformations, some people will do the transformations in the ODS as well. But as per in most of the projects, the ODS is nothing but to maintain the transactional data, and the main intention behind this transactional data is nothing but, for example, there will be a specific retention period of 7 days or 10 days, okay? And or for example 6 months or 3 months, whatever may be. So that particular transactional data will be maintained in this ODS table, and depending upon our report requirement, like what exactly we want to see in our reports and all those things, depending upon report requirements, we will decide what kind of aggregate operations need to be done on the particular transactional data, and based upon that we will load data into the data warehouse. Like in my previous example, that immediately whenever we receive a record, all the record will be loaded into a table. The table is having information like from to and what is the name, age, and from which locality he is coming and which reservation center he is booking ticket. That what we call as the transactional data. That is nothing but the table which we call as the table in the ODS. Okay, and so now at the time we discussed about two requirements. One requirement is like loading which locality we just want to open the new reservation counter. Further, from which locality people are coming mostly. So that particular thing we have seen. And second is second requirement is like to which new location we need to start our service, one new service. Okay, to which location, to which city. So further, we will normally do the group by operation on true. So completely depending upon based upon our report requirement, we develop the columns in that warehouse and we design accordingly. Okay, fine. Yeah, go ahead.
Hey Rohit, Shikha.
Yeah, yeah. Hi, Shikha.
You said the text file, Oracle, Teradata, fixed width, those are the sources, right?
Yes, yes. Those are the
normally the transactions will happen in the source, not in the target side. See, once you bring into the staging, so you'll initially load the full loader, right?
Yeah.
Then
exactly.
Incremental, all the new transactions will go into the staging in incremental load. So we will not manipulate any source data in our data warehouse. So I didn't understand from the staging to ODS why we are manipulating.
What you exactly said, like in staging area, we are not going to manipulate any data here.
But you are saying ODS will manipulate, means whatever you are bringing from the source into staging, that we are manipulating, right?
In the ODS, we are not at all manipulating any data. Okay, we are just in the ODS, we are not touching data at all. But whereas in the staging area, yeah, it's a transactional data. In the ODS, what are the data? See, transactional data is transactional data is nothing but here, with whatever the data we receive, the transactional data which we receive in the text file, we are just loading that particular data in our ODS. Okay.
Okay, whatever you have in staging, that same thing will be there in ODS?
Yes, but whereas in the staging area, what we do is, if there are any dirty records or if there are any records, means for example, as I mentioned, like if we consider voting system, okay, if here in the text files, there are even the records having the age less than 18, okay, there are the profile records having the age less than 18. And such a kind of records we need to handle, and we just don't want such a kind of records to be carried into the ODS. And that records we normally delete in the staging area. Like any kind of cleansing or removing operations, we do it in the staging area, and from there we bring these particular transactional data into the ODS.
I understand, but why we need two data warehouses? ODS also looks like data warehouse. You're keeping 7 to 10 days data, right?
See, ODS is completely different from the data warehouse. For example, let us suppose, like, if you want to do any analysis, just the example which I mentioned in my previous few minutes back. Here in the ODS, I just mentioned the columns over there. In our example as well, it consists of from location, to location, and which city, the name of the person, his age, and which locality he is coming from. And if that is the ODS, and if you want to know, from which locality most number of people are coming from, you need to fire a query on ODS based upon group by query, right?
Why can't we do it in data warehouse?
Sorry?
Okay, same data will be there in data warehouse also, right?
No, see, in the transactional data, you need to do the group by query. That is like, if you start doing the group by query or adding the row count, even whatever the data you store it in the data warehouse, you can achieve the result is from the transactional data as well. But what we call, see, whatever the data we bring into the data warehouse, why we call it as detailed data? Because just we want to save our time, like whatever the aggregate operations we want to do, we do the such kind of aggregate operations, and we will bring the particular data into the data warehouse, and then it will be completely helpful for us.
Rohit, I lost actually. I'm totally lost because you said ODS will have the transaction data and you are doing the grouping and putting into data warehouse. That may not be detailed, it will be summarized data.
Detailed data, it is similar to summarized data, right?
Yeah, those are aggregate tables, not the detailed data.
Okay. So, how exactly you mean by the detailed data, and what do you mean by detailed data, and what do you mean by the summarized data? In your
detailed data means, suppose Rohit is there 3 times. Okay, he bought some items from the stores. He bought some cricket items from other stores. So 3 times you have. So if you group by your name and the items total, so you will get only one record. That is the summary. If you go to the detail, Rohit bought this, Rohit bought this, Rohit bought it. Like you may see multiple records. Those are details.
Okay.
Right?
So you're saying like summarize means detail means you're the same. So as per your example, then even in the transactional record you are having the 3 records for Rohit, and even in the detailed data you are bringing the 3 records for Rohit, right? So.
Okay, go ahead. Maybe I'll ask you. I'll talk to you offline.
Fine.
You can mute.
Okay. So, I'm just keeping you people in unmute as of now. Just go ahead with your question. But whereas, what I am saying is like, see, let me take the table for example, just for the clearing view. What's the main motive behind maintaining the data warehouse, and what is the difference why we maintain the transactional data and why we maintain the data warehouse? Let me say that clearly what exactly is the difference between them. For example, let us suppose we are extracting 2 reports based from the data warehouse. Okay, one is the report one. Okay, what this report even I will just say like. Report is nothing but, let us suppose like if you want to buy any new car, what you will do? You will just go into the your browser and you will search for that, and you will just compare with some other cars or what is the percentage of sales in the previous years. Okay, when you click that on the browser, when you are trying to search that on the browser, on the screen, on the front end, you will be able to watch some graphical representation. Okay, and what are the representation in the front end, which we call it as the reports. Okay, so reports are front end, whereas ETL is the back end. Okay, so let us suppose in the report one, what I want to do is, as I mentioned earlier, I just want to see to open the new reservation counter. Okay, and report 2. Okay, to open the new reservation counter, I just want to see, or else my requirement here is like number of customers from each locality. Okay, and here in the report 2, let us say like I just want to start a new service, so for that, to which locality most of the people are traveling. Okay, so based upon the report 2, I need to decide to which locality I need to start my new service. First thing is, to which locality most, if even these two questions, okay, means even these two things, we directly we can fire a query on database. Okay, whatever the transactional data over here, we can directly fire a query on this and we can get the result. Okay, by doing the group by operation. The number of customers from each locality. What we'll do here? Just we'll do count of star. Okay, count of star comma location. Okay, from this particular table, group by the location. Okay, so when we fire this query, even it will give the same result. But why? What is the main intention behind maintaining the same information in the data warehouse? Is just for the sake of report extraction should be much faster. Performance of report. Okay. Whenever we are trying to extract the report, okay, whenever we are trying to extract a report, it will hit the database and internally it will fire a query. Okay, and that particular report query internally, every report has a report query, and that report query will be fired on our data warehouse and it will extract the required data. Okay, whenever it fires a query, it let us suppose if it fires it on this particular table, again it need to calculate that aggregation operations and all and so on. So if there are millions of records in this particular table, it's really time consuming, and for extracting a report, it will affect the report performance, right? So instead of that, if we maintain the aggregate data in this particular data warehouse, what it will do? It will directly fire a query on data warehouse, okay, and then the report extraction will be much faster when compared to the transactional data. So just for the sake of the main intention behind maintaining the data warehouse is so to maintain the aggregate what we call as the detailed data in the data warehouse, just for the sake of report extraction. Okay. Now let me continue with the database architecture. So here we bring in the data into the data warehouse, okay, and after that here comes the data marts. Data marts are optional, like means optional in a sense it completely depends upon the project if they want to go for the data marts or if they directly want to extract it from the data warehouse, okay, and so on. And from the data mart, it is called as the reporting layer. Okay, it's called as the reporting layer. Now, after data warehouse, here it comes like after data warehouse, we are designing the data marts. Data marts is nothing but just dividing it based upon a particular subject. Okay. So based upon a particular subject, we are just dividing this data mart. The reason behind why we maintain the data marts is, for example, let us suppose if it is a university data warehouse having the computer science students, mechanical and electrical students, okay, and now you just want to you just want to know the information about the computer science students. Okay, so you want to fire a query only for on the computer science students. Further, if you fire a query on data warehouse, even it will fetch the data of it will fire it off based on the mechanical and triple E as well. So it's really time consuming. So further, what we'll do is we'll again further divide it in based upon the subject, like all the computer science students in a specific data mart, all the mechanical in one, all the electrical in one, and so on. Okay. So further, then when we just want to extract reports about this computer science student, then we will fire only on the computer science data marks. Performance will be much faster. Okay. And even there are two approaches. Either one is called as top-down approach and another is called as bottom-up approach. Okay. In the top-down approach, data warehouse comes first and data marts comes next. And in the bottom-up approach, this data after ODS will directly divide the data marts, and then from there we will load it to the data warehouse. That's what we call as the bottom-up approach. So there are two approaches in this data warehouse. And from there the reporting people like Cognos and so on, they will extract the reports. Okay. So what we are doing here exactly, we are doing the extraction, and here we are doing the transformation in the staging layer, and here we are loading it to the data warehouse. So extraction, transformation and loading, which we call as the ETL. Okay, extraction, transformation and loading, and for this there are different tools like Datastage, Informatica, okay, Abinicia and so on. Abinicia, so okay, and so on. Okay, and for the reporting, after the, as I said, like ETL is a completely background process, and the front for the end users, they completely look for the reports. Okay, and for the reporting, there are tools like Cognos, OBIE, and so on. Okay, so this is the part which we are going to see, means what exactly Datastage is going to do till here. Okay, this is the part which Datastage we are going to cover as part of our Datastage sessions. So so as I mentioned, data warehouse. So this is the data warehouse. Okay, sorry, I mentioned there is a summary data and this is the detailed data. Yes, you are right, Srikant. I am to get confused. Okay, so this is the source from which we are extracting, we are cleansing, transforming it to the staging layer, and here in the ODS we are normally maintaining the detailed data, and here we are maintaining the summary data. Okay, and here in the data marts, and then reporting layer. So, any questions till now?
Rohit, where can we get the software?
Datastage software, normally Kapil will guide you regarding that. So, once you are done with your registration part, yes, Kapil is there?
So because before you start, if we have the software would be better. So otherwise it's no use it, right?
Yes, sure. Kapil will see. Normally we see these theoretical sessions for more 2 or 3 days. So before that, within these 2 or 3 days, once you're done with your registration, immediately Kapil will guide you regarding this software installation. Okay, he will send you the software.
Where can we get the software?
Sorry.
Where can we get the software? Can we download?
He will just share a link. He will just share a link. There is some internal portal for the BISP, and where the software is uploaded. So they will just share that link, and you can directly download from that particular link.
Is that freeware normally outside?
Sorry.
Is that freeware?
No, it is not free. I guess so.
Okay. Can you ask Kapil whether he can get the link today?
See, normally, you know what, Kapil will share immediately once you people are done with the registration. So, Kapil will directly contact you, and or else if you want to communicate with him, then you can directly drop a mail even.
Hey Kapil, are you there?